Day today in the case against New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. For the first time since the state attorney general's bombshell report was released last week, the State Assembly Judiciary Committee will reconvene this morning in Albany to determine whether or not to file those articles of impeachment.
Yeah, this does come after one of the governor's accusers is breaking her silence. We're talking about former aide Brittany Commisso. She accuses Cuomo of reaching under her shirt and touching her inappropriately.
I didn't say anything this whole time. People don't understand that this is the governor of the state of New York. The governor needs to be held accountable.
And just so I'm clear again, being held accountable to you means seeing the governor charged with a crime.
What he did to me was a crime. He broke the law.
There's a lot at stake for Governor Cuomo, as you all know, who is refusing to resign. So here to give us an insight into what is going on in Albany this morning is political strategist Basil Smikle, who served as the executive director of the state Democratic Party. Good morning, Basil. Good to see you.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right. So we just heard former aide Brittany Commisso was the first woman to file a criminal complaint against Governor Cuomo. Do you think if other women come forward, he actually could reconsider resigning? Because it's one thing to read it. It's another to see their faces and hear their stories.
Well, for so many of us that are looking at this, we have been saying that he's likely to resign before he's impeached, because it has a lot to do with his legacy going forward. But I would tell you, if there are more criminal accusations against him, certainly that pushes the decision to resign forward farther and quicker than perhaps he was thinking. But at the same time, whatever cash he's got in his bank account, I think it's like $20 million, he's going to have to focus maybe some money and some attention on fighting a criminal investigation, not just whether or not he's going to be governor for another year to 4 years.
Yeah, and Basil, I spoke to Assemblyman Ron Kim this weekend on our political show, Picks on Politics, and he was really talking about what's going to be included in the articles of impeachment. Will it just be the sexual harassment, or will they also include the pandemic book sales as well as the nursing home deaths? But also are talking about, does the governor have any support left for him in Albany? Is he effective to be able to govern here?
Well, that's the key. It doesn't seem like he's going to be effective in an ability to govern. He's lost tremendous support in the Assembly. The Senate's always been his friend, historically been his friend because of the moderates that have been in the state Senate. So, there is some suggestion that he's spending some time trying to call members of the state Senate to make sure that they don't, that they stay, supportive of him. That seems to be a losing fight, and I'd imagine more so after the interview and the criminal charge. So I don't think he has the ability to govern right now, and that's concerning. And when you add in, as you said, the nursing home investigation, the book sales, all of those things, brought together, it just gives both legislators and voters a sense that, there's too much on his plate for him to really be focused on the voter.
Right.
So let's talk about the process here. Does the Judiciary Committee now have to conduct its own investigation? Because they did send word to the governor saying, if you want us to consider some notes, send them to us. And how long are they expected to take before they decide whether to impeach the governor, if that's where they want to go with this?
If they want to go in that direction, you could see something by the end of this week, as they've indicated that they wanted to see the governor. They had asked the governor, if he wanted to submit any witnesses or any testimony on his behalf, to do so very quickly. So it's clear to me that the Assembly wants to move on this fast. They have to be transparent. They have to make sure that this process is above board, because any problems with that, the governor is going to come back and say, look, the system, this was rigged against me. They have to, this is the first time this will happen in 100 years.
Yeah.
And so they want to make sure they get this done right. But I imagine it's going to happen soon, because to an earlier point, he can't govern. This can't go on much longer.
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, Assemblyman Ron Kim said this weekend that even if they do file those articles of impeachment, though, the trial could take some time, right? So he says anywhere between now and November could be when we actually see all of this play out. In the meantime, though, you know, there is a pandemic going on, right? And there is the need for funding to come from D.C. So we keep talking about the need to govern here. So that seems like a long time to go without a leader who's going to come out and hold press conferences or ask for money or talk about what to do in a pandemic.
And add to that, that his top aide just resigned, that Melissa DeRosa. And so if you have resignations of folks that are in his inner circle, if you have a lot of his key allies and key aides trying to push back on these allegations, does he have the bandwidth to actually go ahead and work with DC to go into the counties and the cities and start negotiating how they're going to get support and funding? I mean, we are in a very important time, especially as you're starting to see a surge. You know, when he does these press conferences, how believable is he going to be? He was America's governor, you know, for a period of time. You know, how trustworthy is he going to be at a point where there's so much vaccine skepticism still out there?
Well, you know, that leads to my question, Basil, is how much damage is the governor doing to himself by not resigning? And does he have a political future after this?
You know, the governor's a fighter, and that's why a lot of people loved him. That's why he was, you know, he's got a third term and was considering running for a fourth term. But those same virtues and values may actually be hurting him now. Because, you know, with such a heavy, with so many allegations against him conducted by an attorney general who's extraordinarily popular, pushing back against her, saying that the allegations that it wasn't done properly, having his lawyer go out there and say this was you know, this is all an attack against him. It's not credible. I think that really hurts. You know, this was a governor who, when he got into office, pushed for marriage equality and was seen as this really progressive, future-thinking leader. And now, you know, that all of that seems to be, you know, falling by the wayside. So the key is get out on his own terms or be pushed out.
We shall see how all this plays out. It was Governor Christie this weekend who said nothing comes out of a third or fourth term, that governors should be term limited. We shall see what happens there, that discussion moving forward. Basil, thanks for coming on as always.
Good to see you.
You got it.